Do these people actually believe that Canadian politicians can control the climate above Alberta and thereby stop forest fires? I don't think that they literally believe that. What I think is going on, I think the deeper issue for this issue and for all of these sort of related uh, progressive woke groupthink kind of attitudes, it's not that they believe that politicians can control the climate and stop forest fires. It's that they don't care that what they're saying is irrational. I think that is the fundamental problem. They don't care that what they're saying makes no sense. It's not part of how they sort of assess the world and how they generate their opinions and their attitudes about these things. There's another priority at work for this kind of group thinking class, other than uh, reality testing, right? Other than examining whether or not these propositions actually represent something objectively true out there in the world. So, what you see when you confront these people who post these opinions online, when you ask them, what do these policies do? Like, how do they affect the climate? They can't answer you. And they immediately start deflecting or they start insulting you or anything to get out of the position of having to grapple with the realization that has probably just dawned on them that they don't have a clue about any of this stuff that they're talking about. And of course they have no clue because they haven't generated these opinions by themselves. They haven't gone through a process of weighing different arguments and examining different points of view, and they haven't done any of that. They simply adopted these opinions whole cloth, and then they represent them as knowledge and facts in their own point of view. So they can't justify them when they're confronted and challenged to answer very straightforward questions. What could one of these Canadian politicians have done that would have stopped these fires, affected the climate, and stopped these fires? So I've got this particular example here that I want to go through, and it's the reaction to being questioned that really really infuriates me. So this particular person comes up on my feed on X, all of the time. Like, it just keeps popping up. And I guess it's, if you comment on something, then the algorithm keeps feeding you the same person over and over again. So this guy, his name's Dennis Kendall. So this guy is not, like I said, one of these, like a 20-year-old college kid taking his social studies and his green agenda course and getting this indoctrination and doesn't know any better. This guy's obviously in his late 60s 70s or something, and according to his little bio there, he's a former CEO of something or other. He's a health policy services consultant. He's a physician. He's a leadership advocate and a mentor, whatever that means. And so there was a uh, article by the Toronto Star about the fires affecting Alberta and various towns. And so Dennis, he retweeted that article and commented on it. And his comment was, "Do Banff and Canmore need to burn before Alberta acts on climate change?" Right. So here's that perspective. It's like, it's your fault that these towns are being affected by these forest fires because Alberta, run by a conservative premier, hasn't acted on climate change. So obviously, the suggestion here is that it's in Danielle Smith's power to affect the climate over Alberta and stop these forest fires, right? So I put to Dennis, I said, the problem is not that people like Dennis actually believe that a premier of Alberta can control the climate over the province and thereby prevent forest fires. The problem is that people like Dennis don't care that what they're saying is completely irrational. And Dennis responded by saying, it is entirely rational that all provincial premiers should follow responsible climate policies. Now, that's not really an answer to what I said to him, is it? It's kind of evading the point entirely. But I zeroed in on him trying to refute my assertion that what he believes isn't rational. And so I responded to him by saying, then tell me the effect that will have on the effect that that will have on the climate over Alberta. And by that, I meant following responsible climate policies. Tell me the effect that will have on the climate over Alberta and how it will prevent forest fires. And I said, if you can't tell me that, Dennis, then your position is not rational in the least. And the response I got was to be blocked. I think it's beyond simply intellectual cowardice at this point. Because again, this guy is not a 20-year-old. He's not, just some random dumb guy on the internet who's just spouting fashionable opinions, right? This is these people present themselves and position themselves as the enlightened, highly educated, professional elite. And these are the people who are really driving all of the agendas with their support, right? These are the people that the people in power turn to in order to get the votes to impose these agendas on the population, right? So these are the people who are, in their own mind, in their own class, consider themselves the very sophisticated thinking, very informed, again, highly educated, intellectual elites. And yet, instead of addressing flaws in their reasoning, flaws in their position, flaws in their arguments, they run, they block you, they deflect, they deny the illogic of their own statements. They won't account for their own words. And they run away from positions that they represent as being the position of the extremely clever, morally excellent, and enlightened people, right? And to me, this goes beyond simple, intellectual cowardice of blocking you. Okay, that's over, right? Especially when it's people like this, when it's the professional class, when it's physicians and lawyers and politicians and journalists who will not take responsibility for the incompetence of their reasoning, and not just incompetence of the reasoning, they're professing to believe things that are irrational, that make no sense. And instead of accounting for that, they run away. And again, these are the people who are helping impose all of this stuff on the population because they are granting it credibility with their own status as the highly educated professional class. And so this isn't just being weak and cowardly. I think it's genuinely wicked. I think it's wicked to promote these kinds of ideas and promote these uh, this kind of social engineering, and to promote it from a position of, dare I say, privilege, and to not be willing to account for the the flaws in it, the weakness in the arguments, the irrationality behind it. Like, if you have the kind of sway that some of these people have, and you don't have the guts to like look at yourself and look at your own point of view that you're promoting, that you're advocating for, with intellectual honesty, and to grapple with the fact that you're representing something that is stupid, that anybody with an modicum of basic reasoning can look at and see doesn't represent anything real in the world, and you won't take responsibility for embracing that and promoting that, and yourself as some kind of enlightened person with an enlightened perspective on these things. That's 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 wicked. There's something very, very morally corrupt in that. And I think we need to force these people to address it, because I think they think of themselves as being exceptionally moral by representing these views, and exceptionally smart and clever by representing these views. And I think the problem is that they just haven't bothered thinking about it, because the truth of these propositions doesn't enter into how they decide to endorse them. It doesn't even come up to them. The only thing that matters, the only thing that motivates them to endorse these concepts, whether it's the climate crisis, or transgender affirming care for children, or Kamala Harris is now like an exceptionally impressive world leader. All of these concepts that are contrary to reality that they endorse is because they don't care about reality. They don't care about truth. What they care about is the social status that is attained by conforming with these views and this ideology, and identifying with the kind of people who represent these concepts. That's what they care about. And it's like a shortcut to thinking of yourself as exceptionally moral, and a shortcut to thinking of yourself as enlightened and exceptionally wise and forward thinking, without actually having to cultivate those traits and skills. And I think we have to say this out loud. We have to make this overt, that the professional class are endorsing idiocy because they don't care about the truth. It's all about their ego and nothing else.
This is going to get ugly.
Never okay.